Welcome back to an episode of Horror Quest, where we embark on a journey to find the best and scariest horror games, sometimes the worst. On today's episode, we'll be discussing These Darker Tides. Now, for those of you who don't know, which is about all of you, I have thalassophobia. I almost drowned as a kid, and you know what, that wasn't fun. And look, I'm not terrified of large bodies of water, but I generally won't go deeper than neck level. Pools are completely fine though, because, you know, they're pools. Now, I bring this up because I tend to find underwater games a bit scarier than anything else. I'm predisposed to feeling uncomfortable once my character goes underneath the water. In These Darker Tides, the whole game takes place on the seafloor. And yet, I really didn't find it to disturb me as much as I thought it would, which I'll dive into later. Although yes, I did not like the sharks. Along with thalassophobia, I also have galeophobia. I think that's how it's pronounced, but I have a healthy fear and respect for these terrifying creatures that, you know, for some reason white people like to swim with. These Darker Tides plays similarly to another indie horror game that not many people know about. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's. You assume the role of an employee tasked with protecting deep-sea cables from creatures lurking in the ocean depths. You have cameras like FNAF, but as you'll see, there are different mechanics at play that I actually think are quite clever. So let's dive in, shall we? My name is Josh, also known as Gorguinni Boner, and I hope you enjoy. The game begins with my immature name choice. That's just how I roll. Then the game tells me what my purpose down here is. Protect the pipes. Sharks will appear and try to shred them to bits, but you can scare them off by emitting a frequency that matches the wavelength at the bottom middle of the screen. Seems simple enough. There are only 5 cameras, and matching the frequency is really not like Dark Souls level of difficulty. However, the cameras can crack or become blurry, so you have to clean and repair them periodically. Ironically, after watching back the footage, I realized, what's the point? Yeah, you can't see well and it may be a bit blurry, but anytime a shark is on screen, a red wavelength appears that is not obscured by the cameras. I could have gone this whole game without the camera's feedback and been fine, but then I wouldn't be the top employee and get that 3 cents raise in 5 years. Regardless, the first day is meant to break in the mechanics to the player, so, you know, not much occurs. The only thing of interest is this little doll outside your station, and hopefully it stays outside. Alright, well, never mind. Day 2 isn't really all that different. I don't even know if there's a shift in difficulty. The only thing that I noticed is that the cables inside the cameras can misalign, which can make the video lag and not show what's actually going on. So that's another thing you need to fix throughout your shift, but really, in the grand scheme of things, it's still not difficult. It is kind of similar to how more animatronics may wake up as the week progresses in Five Nights at Freddy's. These Darker Tides will add on more tasks each day, but overall is not nearly as stressful as you might think. I mean, there's a literal game of paper toss that you can play, optionally. I mean, once you get into the flow of things, you'll have plenty of moments where you're just kind of sitting there doing nothing. So why not throw some papers around? I, of course, never missed a shot. I'm competitive, so I made sure my score was higher than the employee. I treated it like it was mandatory. Up until now, I really wasn't impressed. Yeah, I don't like sharks or deep dark waters, but this is really nothing. The game is structured where nothing is a threat. But it's during the halfway point I started to hear something that I hoped would finally turn the horror factor into a positive. Welcome to the paranormal part of this game! Alright. Honestly, it was kinda needed. It now should appear on the cameras, creating static that is way too loud and made me jump every single time. I mean, I like jump scares, but these were just loud noises that made me flinch, no aftermath or reasoning behind it. And to be fair, I did get used to it after a couple of times. Day 3. This is where things get a bit more intense. The sharks are absent from here on out, replaced by the girl who will float in the depths to use her magic, or sorcery, or whatever it is, to destroy the pipes if you let her do it. I'm not gonna drag on the developers too hard, but it does look like a PNG being dragged across in Photoshop. I get it though, it's hard to develop games, and actually her being a supernatural being plays into this, you know, artificial movement. It's kinda spooky. Day 4 adds a new piece of equipment, the Mobile Resonance Unit. Basically, the girl will now enter your private space and attempt to end the game outright. You can prevent this by simply locking on and clicking her away. Of course, me being the dumb pyramid head I am, I couldn't figure out how it works and died immediately. That's alright, because there's actually now a threat beyond the game simply ending. If you failed beforehand, the screen would simply say you failed and force a restart. Now I can feel a bit of tension when I can't locate her. Like, this is good, keep it going. Day 5, the electricity starts to waver, and you guessed it, she's dipping her fingers into the electricity, trying to basically mess up your job. If she succeeds, the cameras will go down for a certain amount of time, but really, it's not a big deal. It gives you more time to focus on your free throws. I like that the emphasis of this game is more so on the cameras than the actual sharks or ghosts. So many things can go wrong, however, the majority are not of importance, and it does not help that each fix is incredibly easy. The only reason why I would fail a day is because it was my first time and I didn't know what I was doing. Otherwise, I never failed a single time. There's a hierarchy of importance here. The only two things that mattered was emitting the right frequencies or using the mobile resonance unit. The cameras could crack or blur, but really it doesn't matter. Whereas in Five Nights at Freddy's, each task you had to manage was of equal value. Listen, I know I keep on mentioning FNAF because this game, like many others, takes inspiration from the design of FNAF. So I want to, compare the two. And so far, these Darker Tides, while having unique moments, it's just really not good. These Darker Tides will add on new tasks to manage on each night, which is good, but in the grand scheme of things, isn't nearly as stressful as other horror games. It also doesn't help that the structure of this game isn't scary at all. Let me put it this way. In games like Silent Hill, you are forced to enter the unknown. If you want to experience the game, if you want to find monsters, you must venture forward. Putting yourself in that vulnerable position where you have to make the first step is terrifying, especially when you don't know what to expect. In these Darker Tides, the danger or unknown comes to you, but with a protective bubble around it. Sure, seeing the sharks or floating PNG of spooky girls in the water is creepy, but the game is designed to have these things be limited. Really, the only scare I got was when first seeing the girl and her jump scare. Otherwise, I was comfortable, even with my thalassophobia. And I know what most of you are thinking. If I have a fear of water and I want to frighten myself, why not try Subnautica? I'll think about it. Regardless, this game just isn't really doing it for me, but I can't give the full score yet because this is only the first game mode. There's actually 3 game modes in these Darker Tides, featuring different monsters and slight variations. We just covered the first one. The second one is all about mermaids, or mermans. It doesn't clarify, but these are some fugly looking mermaids to be sure. It's really more of the same, but they do interact more with the player beyond subpar magic shows. The mermaids will ram the cameras, dislodge them, or straight up infiltrate your pod. On day 4, and I think this is pretty funny, we regret to inform you that your shift mate has expired in the line of duty. So now the pressure levels are left unstable, and for some reason the fugly mermaids know this too. The company didn't even bother removing the body, just left him there to rot, and honestly I thought that was pretty funny. Besides the FNAF inspirations, I noticed a lot of indie horror games will also copy the concept of a large company or corporation that treats their employees terribly or hides a terrible dark secret, much like Lethal Company. These Darker Tides doesn't explore that route, but definitely hints at it. The third game mode plays on the conspiracy theory that aliens currently live on the ocean floor already. They'll send drones to capture data that you have to disrupt with an EMP wave. Sounds kinda boring because it is. I never finished this mode because if I'm being honest, I was kinda done with the game at this point. Have you ever found yourself playing a game and thought to yourself, you know what, let me just be productive and stop playing the game? That's how I felt. I actually stopped playing the game and just worked on my college work because it was more entertaining. Now, I grade these games in the series based on the horror factor primarily, but if the game is good or not does influence the score too. You've probably noticed how short this video is. That's because I don't care to talk about this game more than I need to. This is not Silent Hill. I'm not gonna stretch this video out to an hour and a half, but you definitely should watch that video because I think it's pretty good. And let me be clear, this isn't to say that the game is awful outright. It is a short, fun horror game that is worth the $8. In my personal opinion, I think my favorite part was the second game mode with the mermaids. It was way more interactive, and actually seeing them try to get in your pod was kinda scary. Although it was squashed pretty quickly when I realized that the minigame to keep them out was very easy to do. But still, you get a couple of hours of entertainment from it, and in the end, there were no bugs, no glitches, or microtransactions. But again, with the limited gameplay and how the monsters are created to just kind of walk around the pod and not actually be a threat. The atmosphere was good though, you know, it sucks that the gameplay doesn't replicate that. However, I would say that These Darker Tides is a good game for someone who wants to ease into the horror genre. Because all in all, as someone who is a veteran in the horror genre, this does not score high at all. When it comes to the spooky scale based on how scary I found the game in gameplay, atmosphere, and other parties, I'm giving These Darker Tides a 3. I like the atmosphere, the setup was good, but in execution, this game didn't do all that well. It is a shame because, again, I have a fear of dark waters, but when a game that takes place in dark waters doesn't scare me, it means it's doing something wrong. And that's all I have for you guys today. I've read your comments on my previous video about Fear and Hunger. Watch that if you want to, by the way. I will be playing the second game. I'm doing two things. I'm going through the whole Dark Souls trilogy and Sekiro and all the other FromSoft games. But at the same time, I'm trying to dabble in Fear and Hunger 2 a little bit. You guys did say, though, that there's an update coming. Wait for the update, then play the game, so I'll be sure to do that and make a video about it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about this game, let me know if you enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone, and of course, stay safe.